Hello, EJK here, and I'm just looking at myself in the computer and I look really different without my glasses on. You might be wondering, where are my glasses and how can I see? Well, I have contacts on, and I'm kind of preparing my eyesight to the computer because it's different playing with contacts versus playing with glasses. And I'm going to be going to Red Bull Detroit, and in Detroit I'm going to be wearing contacts, so I'm just preparing my eyes. So yeah, I'm just adjusting for a LAN setting. But enough of that. I have a very exciting game for you guys today. It is between Flash versus SoO from the IEM Toronto, Korean, and Taiwan qualifiers, courtesy of Base Trade TV. There we go. And this game is a crazy good game. You know why? Because Flash plays very standard, but he makes some small tweaks into his play that just allow him to grab so many tiny advantages in this game, and they all add up and lets him win. Like, the two biggest mistakes I would say that he made that I saw was not moving a Marine to this base when he wanted to take his fourth base, and when he was over here, when he was attacking, it was about 14 minutes in the game. He wasn't starting his 3-3 upgrades immediately. He could have afforded it if he didn't continuously make a Thor. So I would say if he made 3 Hellbats instead of 2 Hellbats and a Thor, he would have had enough to start 3-3 immediately. Those are the two only mistakes, pretty much the two mistakes that I saw this game that Flash made. So a very high level game, and he's just playing very standard. And by standard, I mean he's going for 3 command centers, and he's in this game he's going to be going for a Hellbat Thor composition instead of Bio Widow Mine. So for all of you who dislike using Widow Mines and having to worry about where they're placed and worrying about these lucky Widow Mine shots and blah blah, Widow Mines suck basically, well, this is the VOD for you, because Flash, he seems to be one of the only Terran players who does it, but he always likes to switch back into Hellbat Thor every once in a while. And I'm not 100% sure because I haven't seen enough of his games, but I think he might do it depending on the map. So this map, for example, it's very easy to flank. Let's say the Zerg player takes a fourth base over here. He can flank this way and this way. So Widow Mine Field doesn't really do that good. And same here if there's Terran players over here. The Zerg also has alternate pathways to get a full surround flank when the Terran is sieging up on the Zerg's fourth base. So I think Widow Mines might be better on a map such as King Sejong Station, where there's less flanking routes available, and there's like less, like, it makes it so that you are forced to deal with the Widow Mines and go head first into them versus just circumventing them and going for just either a counterattack or going for a really big flank, which is one way to set off a bunch of Widow Mines. Alright, so the first thing that Flash does here, he makes 1 Reaper, he makes a Reactor, he makes a Depot, and then he makes only 1 Marine. Only 1. Now, I gotta ask myself, why would you only make 1 Marine versus 2? Well, I think at this level, SoO is already used to Terran players making 2 Marines, and this also lets Flash get his command center 1 supply early and 50 minerals early. Might not seem like the biggest of deals, but it's a very small thing and it adds up. So I think the mindset behind getting 1 Marine is he only needs 1 Marine over here to deny an Overlord on this map. Maybe on a map such as I think on Overgrowth you can do 1 Marine. You can do 1 Marine on King Sejong Station. Deadwing's really big, but you could also do 1 Marine there. But basically, you can do 1 Marine, and if you just have 1 Marine patrolling the path over here to the main, then the Scouting Overlord that the Zerg players like to send into the main, well, they'll be less likely to do it because they'll already see a Marine there. And Flash is also his building placement is also very important. Notice how his third command center is next to his main one. It's not towards the edge so that the overseer can't poke in and see if there's a third command center or not, such as if he made it over here closer to the third base. So just the building placement of this command center forces the Zerg Overlord to go into the main base to scout for it, and he's a lot less likely to do that if there is a marine patrolling. And the second building placement thing is having the barracks over here. We know that over here it's near impossible for a Zerg player to get shit behind there. And it's also, since the map is like not a square, it's just this is the last place that the Zerg player would scout it. And it's important that the Zerg player scouts a tech lab and stim researching, because that eliminates a lot of possibilities. One, that eliminates the possibility of cloak banshees, that eliminates the possibility of a fast Hellbat push before stim, it eliminates the possibility of 2 factory blue flame Hellions early on. So seeing the stim gives the Zerg a lot of scouting information, and Flash doing these very, very small things to deny SoO any kind of advantages he can eke out in this early game phase. SoO, he's just droning up really hard. He doesn't take his third base super early. I think he decides to drone up a lot more before taking his third base. He could build his third base now, but it's slightly delayed. I think that's just a mistake on his part. Of course, he does make a queen, but he still has plenty of money to make. He probably could have tried to put the third hatchery down before this force got there. And we see a second gas taken for Flash. This is faster than normal gas, because we're going to see Flash's infrastructure placement is slightly different than the norm, but it's equal. I would say it's very, very intelligent and also very safe at the same time. So we see here Flash is going to go up to 6 Hellions before he stops using his factory. And the next thing we see is 2 engineering bases going down. So boom. He's playing pretty greedy, but if we look on the minimap here, since Flash isn't building the engineering base at the natural, the Zerg player doesn't know that Flash is going for double engineering base. Seeing the double engineering base pretty much 100% confirms that the Terran player will be going for a fast 3 command center build. So not having it at the natural so that this little overlord over here can scout it means that SoO still doesn't know what Flash is doing. It's 7 minutes in the game, and SoO is forced to play super, super safe. He is making 6 more Zerglings, and that's just because he hasn't scouted Flash at all. He doesn't know Flash has a 3rd command center. He definitely doesn't know that Flash is going stim. He could still be going for Heli and Banshee, and he doesn't see the double engineering bays as well. Flash hides the double engineering bays over there next to the barracks with stim. A very, very important building placement, and this determines how hard it makes it for a Zerg player to scout your base. And unless he's going for an all-in, and SoO's not known for being a super all-in type of Zerg, he's more of a macro-oriented Zerg, then going for a blind counter is most likely not going to work. Such as going for a very, very fast 2-base Baneling bust or a 3-base Roach Baneling all-in. No, this is Flash slightly understanding that his opponent is a lot less likely to cheese. Of course, SoO can bring out 3-base Baneling bust, 3-base Roach Baneling bust, any of that good cheese, but it's a very, very less likely chance. And we'll see the preemptive measures that Flash takes to defend against this kind of cheese. But for now, Flash is playing pretty greedy, I would say, by adding those 2nd engineering bays before the 7-minute mark and that 2nd gas as well. So all Flash's standing army is the 6 Hellions, 1 Reaper, and he's producing Marines 1 at a time. So I believe that'll be his 3rd Marine out on the field. But he can get away with this greed because he has denied SoO's scouting information. So SoO doesn't know that Flash is being greedy. For all SoO knows, Flash could be playing very, very aggressive. So he is playing rather safe than sorry, which is a very standard trait among very good macro players in general, is to play safe and go to the late game rather than to play risky and try to make a bunch of Zerglings and try to punish this greed blindly. It takes a very intelligent decision to do that. The next change in building infrastructure is that we see a reactor going down. Now, if we look on the production tab, there is one thing missing, and if you say it in the comments before you watch the next part of this video, I don't know, I'll just give you a bunch of Reddit karma, because that's all I can give you. But okay, so that's enough time. He is not making 2 barracks. So let's just go over a quick recap of what Flash has done. He's made 2 engineering bays, and he's making a reactor on his factory, all before adding his 2nd and 3rd barracks. So at first thought, I was thinking this is extremely greedy. Flash is just going to roll over and die. But then I thought, well, this reactor is actually pretty fast. So if we take a look at when it's going to finish up, it's going to finish up around the time that a 3-base baneling or a 3-base attack would hit. And Flash has already scouted the 3rd hatchery, so he knows that he doesn't really need to be on the lookout for very early 2-base cheese from the Zerg player. So this reactor actually works out pretty nicely, so that I think Flash would be able to, and I think he's leaving it on as well. But it gives Flash the opportunity to, okay, never mind. I think he scouted, he was able to confirm that there was no 3-base Roach Baneling bust going on. I don't know if he scanned or not, because it's not Pro League. We don't see if he throws down a scan. I'm sure he could have scanned, and then he would have seen that there was nothing, but then there was a lack of units as well. So I really don't know, but he basically, if he could sniff out a 3-base all-in, he has the option of having that factory on the reactor and having it finished by 8 minutes to be able to make 2 Widow Mines at a time, and that would almost likely shut down any 3-base all-in possible and allow Flash to stabilize. So that's his little trick to hold off 3-base pressure, is to keep the reactor on the factory and then make 2 Widow Mines at once. And then just he'll probably evacuate the natural. That's why he doesn't have the engineering bays at the natural as well. And he can lose everything at the natural, but as long as he keeps his economy and he stabilizes, he'll be able to bounce back and deliver a killing blow. We still see a bunker going up, just so Flash isn't caught completely off guard. He's not playing extremely greedy by skipping that bunker. He's at least making 1 bunker, which I like. And now we see the 2 barracks going down. We see the 3rd reactor going down for the factory. And this starport is starting at 8 minutes and 22 seconds in the game. And that is just extremely early. It basically means that Flash's Medevacs come out at the 10-minute mark. So not only does Flash have super fast upgrades, they're much faster than SoO's this game, but SoO has opted to go for a much faster layer. His layer is done by the 8-minute 30 mark before his +1-1 starts, so SoO is going for the faster Mutalisks that we see a lot of Korean Zergs starting to favor, getting that Mutalisk ball up a lot faster and then transitioning into a macro game from there. So we see this very, very fast starport and the 3rd reactor going down from the factory, and everything just seems sped up by a little bit. And Flash hasn't started his 3rd and 4th gas mining either, so this is all based off of 2 gases. His 3rd and 4th gas are about to kick in. They'll kick in during the Medevacs, and then we see 2 more barracks added down. This is now the standard phase of a typical Terran player powering up his buildings. You want to get the 4 Raxes out so you can produce 9 Marines at a time. You want 2 Medevacs producing, and you want a factory with reactor, and you want your double upgrades going. We see now Flash landing his 3rd command center, and he lands it at about the time he has 50 SCVs, so that's about good enough saturation on 2 bases. He has 16 SCVs over here, as we see. I'm sure he has around 16 at his natural, and he just lands it at, or he might have a little bit more at his natural, so then he can send a couple SCVs to the 3rd, and he immediately starts a wall off at his base. There we go, a cute little wall off and his gas. And we see the Medevacs are going to be out by the 10-minute mark. So once again, these are extremely fast Medevacs. I cannot emphasize that enough. We also see Flash. He's going to be building extra turrets for a 10-minute 30 Mutalisk timing. That's probably the second fastest timing that you can get as a Zerg player. It used to be very standard in Wings of Liberty, 10-minute 30 Mutalisks. So these turrets are going to be down by the 10-minute 30 mark. That's usually the fastest that Mutalisks can come out by the timing of this third base going down. And we also see here that Flash, his build is so well timed out that he starts his +2 attack, and then he starts his +2 armor. He doesn't even have enough money to start them at the same time. So, because we have this push out a full minute earlier, what this does is SoO's baneling speed is actually not done yet, so the SoO doesn't want to actually engage until the baneling speed is done. This kind of baneling speed is fast enough normally to have baneling speed out by the time that the first 2 medevacs hit. But because Flash's medevacs came out a little bit faster than normal, it's right before the 11-minute mark, and he's already stimming and killing creep. He is actually able to stim and kill creep because of how fast his medevacs are coming out. So the speed of his medevacs guarantees him the ability to throw down one scan and clear some creep tumors. And we see here he's able to get a lot of active creep tumors, and this is going to slow SoO's creep down a lot. Not as much as you'd like, because he can still replant the creep tumors over the creep. Creep seriously doesn't recede fast enough. We see SoO taking his 4th base now. It's slightly later. He should usually like to take it around 10 minutes, but because he rushed out the Mutalisks, he is getting it slightly later. That's why it's at 11 minutes instead of closer to 10. And we see here Flash. I really like what he does here. He lands his Marines on the high ground and then keeps his Hellbats on the low ground. So this is when Mutalisks would be out by now. SoO already has 5 Mutalisks with his army. If SoO decided to chase these units, then he wouldn't be able to cost effectively engage against these units. And so leaving these units here, Flash wants to leave these units here to pull SoO's army out of position to do another attack to SoO's 4th base with his 3rd and 4th medevacs. So he wants these units to stay here, so why not just put them on the high ground and low ground like that, and just why not? Because it gives them such a safe positioning. But SoO isn't chasing, so Flash goes to the watchtower. That's the second safest area, because that watchtower provides a little gap that spreads the units out. It's kind of like a natural wall off. And we see now that Flash, he purposefully steps onto creep to show his army, and he shows SoO that his army isn't that big. But what he really wants SoO to do is to engage this army, because not only is he engaging off creep, but the army's going to be super out of position for this 3rd and 4th medevac that's coming down the minimap to hit the 4th base. And he's also speed boosting them with the medevacs as well, so that they can get there faster, because stimmed medevacs are like as fast as stimmed marines, so... or speed boosted medevacs. So you always want to like speed your medevacs over to a place like this when you're trying to press for time. And this is what allows Flash to get his units here like an extra like 5 seconds early compared to if he like walked there. And he's able to get a decent amount of trades off. I just want to go back to that first engagement over here. It was slightly not in favor of Flash, but I want to emphasize what Flash does to split his units. So he usually splits them to the left and to the right, and what he does here is, I guess I'll wait until a bigger battle so his mouse strokes become more apparent, but what he does is he keeps a group of Marines in the middle, and then he takes the Marines on the left and the right and he moves them backwards, and then that also naturally gives them a split, and then he splits them up even further apart. And I really like the way that he's able to micro his units. So we see here Flash is kind of down in supply. He's down 7 workers, so there's really less than a 10 supply difference. Army supply is pretty even, and that's all that matters. We see Flash. He's starting a Thor very fast as soon as his tech lab finishes. He started +1 vehicle weapons pretty early on as well, and he's also now just starting Blue Flame. With Hellbat Thor, you actually don't want to add on your 6th, 7th, and 8th barracks very fast, because you really can't afford to build that many units, because Hellbats are a bit more expensive than Widow Mines mineral-wise, and Thors are just a fuckload of minerals as well, minerals and gas, so they're a very big investment. So Flash doesn't even add on his 6th, 7th, and 8th barracks until after he takes his 4th base. Just FYI. And we see that cute little building placement, the SimCity at the 3rd base, which is very, very good. Of course, it'll change from map to map, but it's very nice to have it. We see here Flash, he is just kind of like tickling the Zerg player. He doesn't want to scam because he knows SoO's army is equal to his, but he wants to basically kind of just like poke on creep and then get off immediately. Rule number 1 in TvZ, you don't want to take an engagement off creep, which we'll see Flash break, and that'll give us some exceptions. So you don't want to take engagements on creep unless we'll cover that later. So this is one of the key battles where we see Flash's micro, and I'm just gonna try to, I don't know, like just follow the mouse and you'll see, just like focus on the mouse area, and then you'll see where his units kind of split. Like you'll see those units split up, and then you'll see these units split up as well. So Flash basically splits his army to the left and right twice. So the first time is right now he splits past the watchtower. The watchtower naturally allows him, okay, right there. This group of units and this group of units, they split off. Flash purposefully selects them while leaving a few units behind. So let me try to get that. This is extremely hard to get, but I think it's very important once you see it. So right now he's going to take this group of units and this group of units and split them backwards, leaving some units in front to tank damage or to tank the bailing shots and to just like, you know, act as suicide units. So he moves these 2 units back. That's the very first split, and that already puts him in a very good arc here. And now he's going to split this group of units even more. He's going to leave that one Marine where it is, but he's going to split this group to the right and then this group to the left. I really wish I had like a whiteboard and pointers so I could point that out, but if you just take a look here, see he splits those 2 units up, and now even though he's not even going to lose this engagement, I would say, just the fact that he was able to split so effectively means that he has those couple extra Marines over, so that he's able to force this army in retreat. And like this is the difference between Flash being able to kill this 4th base in the upcoming minute, spoiler alert, and not having enough units and getting completely overrun by a couple bailing shots. Like this kind of micro, 100% doable and 100% necessary to get as good of a cost-effective trade out of this as possible, so that Flash can push onto the 4th base. So let's just, I won't pause this anymore, and you'll hopefully be able to see him micro his units. So he moves this group back, and then he splits this group. Very, very, very good. And that's what allows him to have so many Marines left over and force the Mutalisks back. Like if he split anything less than that, SoO's army would have cleaned up this entire army and probably would have gotten a couple Medevacs as well and put Flash very, very far behind. But as we see here, the supplies are actually even now. Even though SoO has 15 more workers, Flash's army supply is gigantic. He did take a very good engagement there. And this is the mistake that I was talking about. If he wasn't making the Thor, he would have been able to start his 3-3 right away. But as a result, he has to actually wait a little bit before he starts his 3-3. That was probably one of the biggest mistakes that Flash could have made in this game, although it doesn't make a difference because of how well he plays. And now we see Flash, he's like, well, I said before in this video, like just a couple minutes before, what the fuck, don't engage on creep. But he actually engages on creep. And he actually takes a good engagement on creep as well. So the reason why he engages on creep, and we see the 3-3 starting now, so it's about 30 seconds late. But so I think the reasoning behind Flash's idea to engage behind creep was that because he took a very good engagement here and he was ahead in army supply, he basically wants to trade out the Zerg's army supply. Because if we take a, I'm going to break this battle down for you guys so you can hopefully understand it a little bit better. But as we see here, there's 28 Zerglings on the production, well, yeah, there's 28 Zerglings in the production tab, well, a lot of them, and those Banelings just finished morphing. So this is basically perfect macro by SoO. His queen doesn't even have a lot of energy on it. He's spending all of his larva. And Flash also has perfect macro as well. So this is optimal macro versus optimal macro. Let's go back to the fight. So if we see here, there's 4 banelings, 18 zerglings making, and 2 extra mutalisks. So, and now like 20 more zerglings got queued up on the production tab. If Flash waited a little bit longer, SoO would have been able to hatch another round of banelings. Like having 8 additional banelings in the next fight would have made a big difference compared to having only, I have no clue how many banelings he has, but it looks like he has a lot of banelings from the fight. It looks like he has about 20-ish. Yeah, that looks like about 20-ish, maybe low 20s. So the difference between having like this amount of banelings and having 5 extra is the difference between winning this fight and losing this fight. And it's just incredible how freaking close this could have been if Flash got delayed anyway by like a good, I don't know, like 10 more seconds, and those banelings were out, this battle would have ended a little bit more differently. So Flash doing the spreading, and then he goes here again, and he does a good job splitting all, outline the units that he moves back again. He moves back that group of units. Sorry, that wasn't far back enough. But he splits some unit, or first he scans to get rid of the creep, and even though the creep isn't going to recede back in the time that Flash wants to fight, the important thing that it does is it denies SoO's vision of Flash's army. So it makes it incredibly harder for SoO to engage into Flash's army because he doesn't know how many units are coming out from behind. So we see this group of units going to the left, splitting up very wisely, and also clearing some creep tumors. And we see those units going back, and then those units going to the right, and then those units going forward. And that's what allows Flash to take just make him take an overwhelmingly good engagement. So there's a small group he splits over there, and then he splits another one over there. And SoO's banelings just don't know where to go. He just doesn't have enough banelings. And Flash is able to just have an overwhelming force now. And that's also because Flash was able to keep alive his Medevacs and keep alive a good Marine count from that first engagement off of creep, in which he microed very, very well and was able to get... If he wasn't able to get that kind of engagement off, then he wouldn't have been able to do this kind of attack. This is the Terran player snowballing against the Zerg player. And now we see Flash, he's kind of like just almost A-moving in. He's losing his units kind of carelessly, but he's doing this because he's really trying to force all of SoO's units away. Like, this didn't look very good for SoO. Like, I mean, he ran all those banelings into those Hellbats, but if we take a look now, SoO actually has no army. He has 1 baneling morphing, 12 zerglings, 7 mutalisks on the way, but that was his entire army. So if we just go back a little bit again. So Flash is already engaging. He's engaging as soon as possible because he wants to start attacking before the banelings finish. If the banelings finish, then it's a lot. The banelings just roll so fast on creep. But right now, Flash is just fighting against zerglings and banelings. So that's the importance of attacking immediately and still being on creep, and just like knowing that there's gonna, like, if you attack immediately like this and keep the pressure on, you're gonna take an okay engagement. And by attacking right now, he thins out the Zergling and Mutalisk count. He weakens the Mutalisks so that there's just banelings left after all of the Zerglings die. So, like, oh, damn it, that was awful. Alright, so, like, he's on the... There's, like, 20 banelings morphing. This is SoO's entire army. There's nothing else on the way. There's just 14 Zerglings on the way. So, Flash's goal is to get rid of these 20 banelings. And the best way to do that is... Right now, SoO has no banelings on the field. These are all of his banelings morphing. So right now, Flash is just attacking versus Zerglings and Mutalisks. So once all these Zerglings go away, there's only the 20 banelings. We see just a big clump of banelings rolling over, and that's really all that SoO has. This is SoO's entire army. And if he had a bunch of Lings, they would have tanked a lot of shots and let the banelings make some better connections. But because Flash was able to kill the Zerglings and Mutalisks, or weaken the Mutalisks and just thin out the Zergling count, he's able to just kite against pure banelings, which is totally doable. And SoO ends up losing those units, and now Flash is just being extremely aggressive. He wants to keep trading those Lings and smaller units on creep before the baneling count gets too big. And this might not look like a decent engagement for Flash, but yeah, like, it was he Flash kind of mistimed it. He wanted these reinforcements to group up with his standing army, but he got caught with the queen. I'll go back a little bit. So those three creep spreading queens actually saved SoO's life. If this army hadn't been attacking these queens, they would have gotten back enough, and they would have been able to retreat into the reinforcements, which was Flash's original plan. But instead, they're forced to fight over here, away from the reinforcements, and having like an additional 8 Marines and 2 Medevacs. These Medevacs have no energy, by the way, but having those extra units there in the fight would have made a very big difference. But either way, Flash has killed the 4th base. He's in a very good position. So now he's just going to sit back and max, or he's just going to, like, you know, clear creep spread because he has the larger army. He can bully his way around the map now, so that was a very safe scan. Flash sending that Marine. I think it's going to go over here to check for 4th base. No, it goes over there. I guess to check for base over there. And now we see something very interesting. Flash knows, since he's in such a good position, he's starting his 4th commander on location. Like, how many times do you actually see a 4th command center starting on location in TvZ? Flash, of course, is going to do this because he knows he's ahead, and he's just snowballing an advantage that he has. So this 4th command center, you might be wondering, how the hell does Flash know when to build a 4th command center? He's not floating any money. Well, Flash does very specific things. He likes to cut at exactly, like, he cuts very specifically. That's why his money is always low, because, like, let's say he'll like save up 175 to start 2-2, and then he'll have like 0 minerals, and then he'll wait a little bit. He'll make 4 Marines, he'll wait a little bit more. He'll make another 4 Marines, and then he'll make a Marauder. Or he'll make a Marauder, and then the 4, and then the 4, and then he'll make the 2 Hellbats. So he doesn't he doesn't make all of his units at the same time. He makes them at different times. So that's why his money is constantly so low. And there used to be a rule of thumb back in Brood War where if you had less than 300 minerals and 200 gas at all times, like that was the maximum amount that you were able to float, then you were macroing very well. And Flash has taken this rule to heart. The only reason, or the only time you should ever float above 400 minerals, like right now, is when Flash is, or when you want to put down an expansion. And we see here he has 400 minerals, and boom, those minerals go away. And that's because he's queuing up a command center on location. Let me just do that in real time so you see it better. Yeah, right there. So if you just take a look at the minerals right now, it goes above 400, and the only reason it goes above 400 is for him to spend 400 minerals on a freaking command center. Like, that's how good Flash's macro is. Otherwise, your minerals and gas should never go above 300. I guess it's 300 is a good number. 300 200's optimal. 300 is still pretty damn good. We see here Flash adding another turret at the 3rd base because he knows that SoO's Mutalisk count is going to be a lot bigger. We also see 3 missile turrets over here, and Flash's building placement is insanely good. There's absolutely no production buildings, no supply depots, nothing over here for SoO to pick off with his Mutalisk. If he wants to engage, he's going to have to go into this turret, or he's going to have to go into these 3 turrets. And if he goes into this turret, he's a lot closer to Flash's reinforcement point, and if he goes into these turrets, there's a lot more turrets here. So just such perfect turrets by Flash. And we see here SoO, he's forced to attack this turret. That turret's just here to buy time. That turret's here to buy time as well and to weaken the Mutalisk sub. But it's this turret here that's closest to the SCVs that Flash wants to keep alive. And he pulls his SCVs on purpose because keeping this turret alive, like, the reason why Flash made those 3 turrets was not to prevent Mutalisk harass, but to buy enough time for his units to stim into the main and to also keep this turret alive as long as possible as well. That buys a lot of extra time. Like, keeping that turret alive bought enough time for Marines to come and to poke away at the Mutalisks. Yeah, and then the turret's being made again in case SoO goes back to do that, so he can buy more time. And also we see here the Mutalisks going back in. These turrets went down immediately, so basically like if Flash didn't put these turrets down immediately, SoO would have been able to catch them right before they finished. So what we see here is Flash is going to pull SCVs to keep this turret alive because this turret wasn't quite alive long enough, and Flash needs to keep this turret alive long enough So because like SoO's engaging so quickly, there's a lot of Mutalisks that still have some damage on them. So by keeping this turret alive and pulling SCVs to keep that alive, he's not buying time anymore, as opposed to actually fighting two turrets versus this group of Mutalisks. Because as we see here, this turret, like if SoO tried to attack into that and Flash was repairing it, he would have been taking two turret shots at a time, and we all know missile turrets do a really good job at killing Mutalisks in low numbers. And he would have lost at least a couple Mutalisks. It would not have been a good engagement for him. We also see here Flash is at 177 out of 177, or I'll come back to that later. But we see now Flash he's on creep again. He's just in SoO's face. SoO can't even keep his third alive, and now we see here Flash moving those Marines in typical Flash format, just moving them back, and now we see that there's absolutely nothing left. Flash's 4th command center actually kind of not building, which kind of sucks, so it's very, very risky to build it on location like that, but at this point it doesn't even matter. SoO lost his entire army to defend that. Flash is looking to... Okay, so the difference between this fight and the very first fight is that Flash is actually looking to trade armies right now. Even if he trades a little bit cost efficiently, he's in equal bases with the Zerg player, which means it's a good situation for the Terran. And he's also going to be taking his 4th base, whereas SoO's 4th base is barely going to finish as well. And they're also equal on SCVs, so Flash is in a really good economic position. And at this point, he knows he can step on creep once again and take a good... He's not going to take a good as good as an engagement as when he's off of creep, but he knows if he trades this army for SoO's army, then SoO's going to have nothing left, because at this point, both the main and the natural is starting to become mined out. I would say the natural is almost mined out. The main is definitely mined out. So SoO really doesn't have that much income left, and he also doesn't have a lot of production as well, as we see in the production tab. So that's why Flash is choosing to engage on creep again. We see great, like, his Marine force is not clumped up. It's not clumped up. If you right-click your units somewhere or A-move your units somewhere, they always freaking clump up. No, Flash's army is in a straight line like this, so that if SoO actually tries to engage Flash, he's going to be hitting straight into a much better concave than a line like this if Flash was being lazy with his army. So this makes it a lot more dangerous for SoO to engage. We see Flash stim ahead. He's sending a couple Marines forward to kind of soak up banelings and to create a left flank, and then he flanks his units to the right. So he just creates a very long line, as we see here. Like, I'll replay that again just so it's a bit clearer. So he has a line over here, he positions his units there, and now he just makes a big line with his army, and that makes it a lot harder for SoO to engage. And we see here Flash, his 3-3 just finished as well, so he waited for that. And he moves that group of units back, and then he moves those units back a little bit. And there's just simply not enough left for SoO to defend this. And Flash's reinforcement, he should have... I guess that's his 3rd mistake, not rallying his reinforcements straight to this push. The game would have ended if these units were over here by now, but the game is still basically over. So, yeah. GG is called. It's not really called, but it'll be called as soon as those units get over there. SoO has no economy. He lost his 3rd base, and GG, there's nothing left but to GG. So, a bit longer of a video for just a 14-minute VOD, but I really wanted to be thorough with this game because it was a very standard game, but with a lot of Flash-esque tweaks that... Like, all of these things that he does allows him to create an advantage, and it allows him to end a game against, like, a GSL finalist, multiple-time finalist in less than 20 minutes. Like, that's just that's very, 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 very high level. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. That brings the end to this web episode. And I'll see you guys on the next one.